each phase, our business becomes more complex. And so understanding our unit economics is really important. And you are fortunate to go through a period of rapid growth. And that's the dream. Everybody wants that hockey stick. It's going along and we have the hockey stick and our business takes off. And you did it. You caught lightning in a bottle. Our business took off. What that allows us to do now is to really understand our unit economics. And there are fundamental questions that, regardless at what stage of business we're in, we should be able to answer. And so to everybody online today, some questions that I would encourage you to be able to answer, and they're seemingly easy, but they're actually fairly complex. The first one is, how can you double your business tomorrow? You should be thinking at that through every stage. And it creates a lot of space. You have to have some concerted effort to say, this is how I can double my business tomorrow. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean operationally? What will break? Okay, well, how do we fix that so that doesn't break? That won't become a limiting pathway. Another question to ask is, what would you do if you had X amount of dollars? Sometimes it's $100,000, sometimes it's $1 million, sometimes it's $10 million, sometimes it's $50 million. If we had that money today, where would I invest it? And why? And what that forces a company to do is to truly understand the drivers, the levers that they can pull in their business to positively impact their business. And that's really important. That's a fun middle market, upper middle market stage to go through. And that's what we're working on. In fact, we have kind of some very big initiatives that we're doing. Hardware, my goodness, we are awesome. Yeah, I still say it's crazy. We use a laser to detect something that's invisible and odorless. And we detect it at an incredible sensitivity on an aircraft that's flying hundreds of miles an hour above the ground. The hardware and the technical challenge that we have solved doing that is incredibly impressive.
And I'll break in. There's more fun coming in the coming months, so stay tuned on our next hardware bit. So,
absolutely.
But go ahead, continue.
We have that same level of innovation to go through on software. Our software is good, and our software is going from good to elite, to world-class. And I'm really excited about that transformation because that is allowing us to expand our relationships with our customers. It's opening additional revenue pathways for us, and it's strengthening and deepening our partnership throughout the entire ecosystem. Our partnership intradepartmental, because software touches all aspects of our business. It strengthens our partners with our customers because they're asking us, we've earned the right, and they're asking us, can you help us solve this problem now? That's a great place to be in.
Yeah.
And then it's strengthening our partners without the vendor community because we'll be relying on others throughout Montana, our great state, to help us achieve becoming an elite software company as well. I love the fact that you have headspace now to focus on innovation.
Because, me too.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it.
Because we understand LiDAR at an elite level. You're now understanding the entire ecosystem at that same level. Because we recognize we have the opportunity to expand into other forms of sensors. Here again, we're expanding our revenue base. We're creating a more durable, everlasting company. Expanding our revenue base is important. Expanding it with new products to our current customers, our existing products into different industries and different verticals. So that's a big initiative for us. And then the last, and actually not the last, the next, because there will always be more. But the next is we will continue to innovate with our surveys. There's ways that we can survey in a different manner. There's ways that we can survey more efficiently. We're developing new products, which we're really excited about, that will expand how and what we can measure. So that's kind of, from my standpoint, a glimpse at where Bridger's going. We have to innovate, but we can't forget about where we've come from. And the biggest lesson that I have learned from you is you got great at something and then you expanded. And oftentimes, no is the most powerful word that a founder and a scaling company can learn, because it's too often to get diluted. And we're at that inflection point now because our customers are asking us to do so much. We have to prioritize as much as we would love, and we are customer centric. We absolutely put our customers first and foremost to say, we will help you out. They're giving us so many opportunities we have to prioritize. And some of the things that we laugh about is we say, that's a great thing. We're saying no now so we can get great at doing some things.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, but it's a hard. You make it sound simple to say, hey, you just say no to these things. Some of these things, I remember pivots, and Jenny, tell me if we're starting to hit our time, but we'll keep talking until you break in. Well, so you just break in whenever. But some of those pivots we made were really hard. It was a knockdown, drag out fight. Like brothers beating it out, right? But I remember one that sticks out in my mind was, we had to make a choice whether we head towards, we got this thing that image get methane plumes, and our clients really want to know that because they're losing that product out of their pipes, right? So huge. Well, do we go towards dedicating a piece of equipment to a certain site, so then you put this all over their production sites, or do we pivot and say, oh no, what we ended up doing was, instead of making a sensor dedicated to each site, we pivoted to making a sensor that we did was expensive, but we could spread that cost over very many sites. So that ended up, you look back and that was just the right move, but it seems so simple now. And we didn't try to do both. That would have killed us. That would have absolutely killed us, right? We had to say one or the other, take your pick, live or die by it, and go, right? And that's what we did. We made the right choice. We made a lot of right choices. Another thing, though, that I'll say is, and what I noticed about you coming in versus kind of my nature, I'm a scientist, I'm a physicist, right? So I like to think about decisions a lot. And I like to just make sure I'm making the right, to get all the data, everything I can to make a decision. And we get to a point now where we just can't, to be honest, we can't spend that much time making decisions. And we have to rest on what we know about the market, what we know, and it's not just the science anymore, and what we know about the other aspects that come in, integrate those up, and rely on someone who's made decisions with those inputs many, many times, and relying on your experience rather than us trying to make a technical, okay, what's going to work, a different type of decision making is what it is. Yeah. We
talked about something in our executive leadership team meeting yesterday, which I think is actually really apropos now, and particularly with our economy might be facing more headwinds than tailwinds now, and we talked about being comfortable in the uncomfortable. And I think that's a really important lesson, particularly in the startup ecosystem. You have to learn to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. There is no perfect information. I appreciate the scientific rigor in which you and the team have approached business decisions. We're now at a size and a scale that we have to understand the cost of a decision. And that goes back to unit economics. And here again, if I were to give some parting advice to people that are in the startup phase, they're trying to figure out their product market fit, is understand the cost of a decision. How much does it cost you in terms of opportunity cost and time to make that decision? Brad Feld, a tremendous venture capitalist, and we were fortunate enough in a business many moons ago. Brad invested in us, was on the board, and he had this concept of fail fast. And basically what that meant was recognize when something has changed and have the strength and security to pivot don't run it to the end and hit a wall. Be smart enough to say, that wasn't right. This is what I learned. Here's what I'm going to do next. Let's continue moving forward. And that's a big, really big concept.
And that's the same kind of style as Lean Startup. Is one of the most popular startup books. I read that thing like 3 times. And I'm like, how do I apply this? And to be honest, what we were doing, we didn't have that luxury, because a lot of times at that point in our development, because man, you either pick, you're going to go put this on an airplane, or you're going to go, it's a whole different path.
Yep.
And it's hard to know, quickly. And if you go down that, you've invested so much into it. It's really, with the hardware company, it's really hard to do that,
Absolutely.
fail fast thing. So I would say we took our time on our decisions at that point. Today, I would say our company we're a data company. That's what we are, right? We're a data software company, right? And so now I feel like that mode of operation is perfect for the road ahead, right?
Agreed.
Let's just see what the market needs, see if there's a good fit. If we need tweak, we go quickly and make that change. So, yeah.
Jenny, should we do a time check to see?
Think so. Yeah, I want to make sure that we have some time to get some questions from the audience, but it sure was fun listening to you. So I would just say I'm going to start going to the each watch party first to see if there are any questions from the watch parties. But before we do, I'm going to kick it off with a burning question that I have. Pete, as a technical founder, to learn all of these different functions of business is so commendable and not something that's easily adopted by a lot of technical founders. So I just want to know, what is your advice? How did you break up your day? How did you prioritize what you were working on when at the end of the day, it sounds like now you're going back to what you love. You're going back to the innovation side of things. And so I'm just so curious, how did you not get totally in the weeds in learning accounting?
Yeah, well, first shameless plug for the field of physics. Because look, I feel like physics teaches you how to learn, how to solve problems. There's all these divisions of physics, but every time you go in, you learn this thing and how to solve problems in there. You learn this thing and how to solve problems again. I leaned on that background of just not learning the actual physics, how fast it takes how long it takes a ball to drop to the ground, but how to approach problem solving. And so, okay, and when you solve really hard problems, and we do this in our company, when you solve really hard problems, when I say, oh, you got to learn accounting, I go charging at that problem. I can learn accounting. There's no doubt I can learn accounting. And it takes a mind shift to think about a balance sheet and profit and loss and how they work together, cash flow. It takes a mind shift. Even at different stages of our company, it took a mind shift to how we view, cash. And so that was exciting. And then, just the next thing, I credit it to my background in physics. So selfishly, my advice is don't learn a certain thing, how to do this one thing. Learn how to solve problems. I mean, that's so much more valuable to me in starting the company than learning any one of those things. If you want to add anything.
It was perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. All right. You heard it here. Oh, looks like Helena's got a question. Bond.
Hey, Jenny. Can they hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, very much. You talk about existing at the front of the technology curve in your market. Over time, it becomes substantially harder to be as far ahead as your competitors with the technology. And I was wondering if you could just comment a little bit on the strategy of maintaining your market position, knowing that the competitors are going to get closer and closer. Is it as simple, if you will, as increasing the breadth of your product offering, or are there other strategies that you're thinking of to maintain that position?
Yeah.
If you want to talk kind of, you've done an amazing job with
IP.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. So, I used to think that patents were the only thing that protected you, right? And they are important, and we nailed that. I think we have our 24th and 25th patents are going to issue in the coming months. So we've littered the space with patents, right? That prevents people from entering, right? That's great, a great groundwork. But I'll tell you what has become equally, if not more important, and we're really focused on it now. But look, as we developed these internal software tools to process, for instance, to process our information. That took us from an arduous task by hand of doing it. Now I got a tool that our crew can use. It makes their life easier. They can, and it's more consistent when we process these plumes that come in. And yeah, we've seen 11 million plumes, gas plumes now, a lot of information coming in, right? And so now we're at the point where we got to make that even more efficient, right? So we're making it even more efficient so that our crew, instead of processing, I don't know, 100 plumes a day, each of them can process 1,000 plumes a day. So increasing the efficiency of our crew, do you realize what that does to our competitors? Just stop and think. They're going to have to go through that whole process. I just dropped our COGS, our internal costs by that much by making ourselves more efficient. Now, anytime I want to compete we don't compete on price. We don't have to right now because we got the best thing in the world. And I love this. It's not by a factor of 50%. It's by more than an order of magnitude, a factor of 10 that we're beating them. So it's a fun place to be. It's a fun place to be. But man, when they do come, bring it. We've got the efficiencies built into the way we do things. That's going to be a fun day when they do come.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Operational excellence. The patents have allowed us to have space to really perfect our operational excellence, and operational excellence is what has endeared our customers to us, and they're asking us to do more because of that.
Well, and I'd say that of all the things on the resume that Ben brought to our company, operational excellence and efficiency, that may be his shining star. Man, he's shown time and again, he is able to take companies and make them just steam, right? Just well-oiled machine, as efficient as you can make this thing. And that's what you've done like 5 times over. And I look forward to that happening, in you leading that in our company. Yeah. Good question. A really good question.
Okay, then. Sounds like the future's looking bright over there. Looks like we've got a question in billing. So what do you have for us, Rock 31?
Yeah, good afternoon. I am curious if you can help dissect the concept of fail fast a little bit deeper. As a strategist and philosopher, I'm always coming in on some of the concepts and buzz phrases. So with respect to fail fast, what are we looking for as far as methods? What are our critical information requirements when we're talking about? We have methods that need refinement. We have ideas that need refinement. And where do we know, hey, this is a decisive point, we need to pivot?
And so I love the question. And actually, I don't, no disrespect to Brad Feld, because he's, an amazing person and venture capitalist. I don't like that terminology very well.
Yeah,
what I do like is innovate quick, but have the infrastructure in place to allow you to measure if it is being successful or not. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, what happens when you don't have the infrastructure in place to have quantifiable measurement, you have emotion that ultimately trumps the data. Because I want this to work. This was my idea. I want this to work. I'm naturally going to have a blind spot. Pete is saying, I'm not sure it's working, but my emotion is saying, I know, and I think it is. I think it's gonna. When you have that ability to quantify, look, when this happens, we know it's working. If this is not happening, we know we have to modify. We have to experiment. Philip, I love your note. It's experiment fast. And that's really what fail fast means. I don't go starting out with something to say, I hope it doesn't work. I start out with the best intentions, and we have a lot of debate and rigor to say, we believe this is the best possible solution. We're going to try it. We're going to experiment. But as soon as we see it's not getting the results that we want, you can't fall in love with your idea. You have to modify it. You have to innovate. And keep moving forward. I've seen too often throughout my career where people get stuck on an idea. They hope it works. They want it to work. They believe it can work. And all the data are telling them, just modify, keep trying. Don't run into the bottom of the hole.
Great advice. So much wisdom there. I think we have time for one more question, I would say, from the audience as we come close. All right.
Unless anyone else, right?
Yeah.
Well, could you elaborate more on going from a hardware to a data company? That seems a little odd. Are you processing the data to package it and sell to others?
We are. And so we started out as a hardware company to collect data. And because our hardware performed so well, we were able to grow and expand our customer set to all of a sudden it's like, wow, we have a tremendous amount of data. In fact, we have a tremendous amount of data because as we're surveying these sites, we're detecting emissions plus a plethora of other information. We're now able to start linking those in ways that we weren't before because we didn't have the size and scale. We have a data science group now. We call them our emissions analytics. We have a dozen people that are looking at our data and seeing additional correlations beyond just the plume. Our customers are now saying, hey, if we give you this additional information, what inferences can you link to that? That's a really, really exciting thing because we're going from something that was started out more find, detect, and repair to predict.
That's right. I'll add to that this dovetails perfectly into the question about creating moat and barriers to market entry. That database you said. Who else in the world has it? We've been doing this for 6 years now. We got 6 years worth of database under us that we can use just like that to help instead of just find and fix these leaks, chasing them. We call them chasing the leaks. Instead of that, use the statistics and the analytics to predict where the next one's going to come or predict the trends so you can do a systematic change in your infrastructure and prevent the emissions from coming at all. That's the next stage.
Hey guys, I've got 2 more questions. So do you mind if we keep you 5 minutes late since I started?
We're loving this.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Michael, how about you fire away?
Yeah, thanks guys. Awesome listening to you. I come at this from, I've got my entire career spent in energy, oil and gas space. It seems very relevant, particularly as you talk about shifting from the hardware to the software space, but I think you kind of just touched on it. I was going to say, what is your mindset around doing the innovate fast, voice of the customer, find gaps in the marketplace, iterate upon it over and over again, versus your kind of your duty to innovate on behalf of the customer yourself, right? No one has this data set. No one's going to be able to look into it and find things that they don't know the questions to ask, right? So your balance between that market research versus innovation on behalf of the customer.
So I'm happy to start first, people. We're and I get it. As a startup business, it's harder. We have the luxury of having a tremendous customer set. And so where does that allow us to go? We can have thousands of customer conversations and start seeing future trends across those customer conversations. A lot of times our customers are asking us to solve the problem today. It's their pain. They need that problem today solved. which is great. It's wonderful to be able to help them with that. But we can start seeing the problem today across a larger customer set because they're at different points of evolution. So we can say, wow, we can go ahead and start inventing a new product that is going to prevent a problem from happening. Because if you take the largest oil and gas producer in the world and a mid-sized one and the smallest one, their needs are different. And a lot of times we can take learnings from the largest and apply it to the mid and the small. And believe it or not, a lot of times we see these scrappy, innovative, small startups that are having wonderful ideas that larger, slower moving companies aren't seeing, and we can present those opportunities to them.
I saw a flash of how do you predict? I'll give you an example. They have these tanks that hold the gas and a thief hatch that's designed to blow if the pressure gets too high. Well, sometimes they just leak. And so say you find a seal that consistently leaks across all these. Well, we see them all the time. If you look at the statistics, you'll say, okay, boom, you can see your thief hatch seals are failing. Well, instead of waiting for us to go chase the next one that happens, go replace all your thief hatch seals. It's something like that. Saying, but. And I will emphasize also that what really makes this rewarding is that, look, we have been adopted 100% voluntarily by the oil and gas industry. They want to fix this problem. And that is so rewarding that it's a win-win. Like, okay, we all love the outdoors. We don't want methane escaping to the atmosphere, but it goes to their bottom line. We keep it in the pipes. That's their product. We keep it in the pipes. It's a win-win, really fun thing. Yeah.
Okay, one more question from Bozeman, and we'll let you get out of here.
Howdy, I'm Kevin LaJoy. I'm doing a data platform startup here in Bozeman. I just wanted to ask what is the magnitude of the size of data that you're dealing with? Is it in gigabytes, terabytes, or even like petabytes that you're dealing with? Petabytes? Wow. Nice.
And one last plug for Ben here. He's dealt with databases and platforms and software his whole career. In different industries, that's what he's done. He's made these software database platforms serve the customer. That is why he succeeded over and over again. That is exactly what he's going to do at Bridger Photonics. I think that's what you're doing. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your extra time, and kudos for a really enlightening, exciting conversation. I've never been more excited about methane detection, and I think we just have full faith in what you're building, and hopefully some wind at your back. And congratulations on this transition. And it just was so fun to listen to you two today. So thank you, and best of luck with what you're building.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Philip. And here's our plug. Everyone donate to Scaling Montana. It's that important. It makes a difference.
Thank you very much. Wonderful discussion today. Thank you both. Thanks, everyone.